Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Are you ready for another action-packed Moon Lambo video? If so, you've come to the right place. Take a look at this headline. XRP price and volume linked to Twitter activity. New data reveals. I actually found this article to be pretty interesting, so I want to run through it with you. I've also got... this is just fun stuff. I hope you guys enjoy this when I pull up stuff like this. It's just for fun. It's like anytime there's an opportunity to engage in critical thinking, anything surrounding the XRP ecosystem, I think it's a blasty blast. And this will be a short one, but there was a tweet from an XRP fudster, and Galgatron responded, and I'm going to throw in my own 2 cents on top of that, but I'll share with you that after this article, and then I'm going to wrap up this video with an article that actually kind of ends up tying in. This is from Daily Hodl, and this one's titled, Fundstrat Analyst Tom Lee says stocks are starting to look like crypto, with $3.18 trillion wiped out in 5 days. But before going any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and also go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel, because if you don't, you are dead to me. Awkward long pause over. Sorry, just let me be a dork. It's fine. All right, so XRP price and volume linked to Twitter activity. New data reveals. XRP gains from the month of February were erased over the past 2 weeks as the altcoin returned to its late January price of 23 cents today. The majority of the losses appear to be caused by the massive correction in traditional markets, which caused a sharp downturn for Bitcoin and many altcoins. As reported by Cointelegraph, analysts now view the correction as a major setback, raising doubts about the future of the long-awaited bull market. XRP is one of the most frequently mentioned cryptocurrencies on social media platforms, especially Twitter. As discussed in the previous analysis, there is a relationship between the number of daily tweets mentioning Bitcoins and its trading volume. This leaves the door open to discuss if the high number of XRP mentions on social media also influenced its volume or returns. And they have a subheading here now. Relationship between tweets and XRP price since 2018. The number of tweets mentioning XRP has been relatively consistent over time, with its yearly averages since 2018 is similar. In 2018, the average number of daily tweets mentioning XRP was 5,937 daily average tweets, while in 2019, the average daily number of tweets reduced slightly to 5,364 tweets. However, and I guess that's not too surprising if you look on the whole what happened to the crypto market in general. But anyway, it continues. However, January this year had a smaller average number of tweets, 5,001 tweets, with a spike to 6,919 tweets on January 6th. The day XRP price gained more than 12%, which is a pretty notable uptick, I'd say. Now, recently, the average number of tweets observed during February has increased to 6,429 daily tweets, a much higher average than the one seen in earlier periods. Now, following the trend of having a higher average in February, the correlation between the number of daily tweets and XRP prices in 2020 has been the highest since 2018 at 62%. Moreover, the correlation between these two variables this month has similar values at 60%, much higher than in January, which is 12%. However, this relationship has been much lower in previous years. In 2018, the correlation between the number of tweets and XRP price was set at 35%, while in 2019, it shows almost no correlation at negative 7%. A correlation of 0% means that XRP returns and the number of tweets is not related in any way. A correlation of 100% means that XRP and the number of tweets move completely in the same direction, while negative 100% means they are inversely related. And so, conceptually, this type of stuff is always interesting to me. In this case, not that you can draw mega conclusions from it, but what my favorite one is, I don't know if some of you caught this, I'm sure some of you saw this, but there was, and I talked about it on the channel, I'm sure, there was somebody that was tracking the correlation between Bitcoin and the number of Reddit posts citing Lambo in the world of crypto. It must have been on like a Bitcoin subreddit, I believe. And oh my God, it correlated. Now that's hysterical to me, but it also kind of makes a lot of sense, right? So there we are, though. But anyway, it continues here. The inconclusive trend seen in the correlations leads us to employ other analysis where we find a small significant relationship between the daily number of tweets and XRP returns. In 2019, when the number of daily tweets increased by 1%, the XRP return on the same day increased by 0.032%. However, in 2018, no significant relationship is present. And then they go on cite it was slightly higher for, what's the next time period they cite here? First month and a half in 2020, but it's not that particularly notable. But nonetheless, conceptually, I think I appreciate that people are out there like comparing this stuff, and sometimes you can draw some rather comical outcomes. Like I said, tracking the number of Lambo references in Moon. When Moon, when Lambo? The answer? Friday, 2 p.m. All right, next. Here's a tweet. There's a couple here. So here's one from Martin Walker, and he's talking about this Financial Times article, which I covered pretty thoroughly. Maybe 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago. I made a whole video about this. Where this author, I don't know what the deal is, but she was clearly not a fan of anything having to do with Ripple and XRP. With the Financial Times here. So somebody named Martin Walker tweeted this out. Financial Times reveals Ripple would be loss-making without sales of XRP. So again, he's citing, there's a weird way to write that, but citing that Ripple would not be profitable if not for the sale of XRP. Okay. And I'll share my opinion in just a moment here, but let me finish. So somebody named Luke Martin, who I actually have come across before, I remember this, and he seemed to be pretty much a negative Nancy on XRP, and I can't remember what the debate was about specifically on Twitter and who was involved, but it was somebody notable. I mean, it could have even been David Schwartz. I could be mistaken, but I know I covered it on the channel whenever it happened, probably like half a year ago or something. But this is only the second time I've ever come across this guy, but he describes himself as a trader and analyst. He writes, I send a daily market review to investors about current trends and key things here. And then he gives a couple links there. And he's got apparently a podcast, Coinist Podcast. So there you go. And anyway, he retweeted that tweet from Martin Walker, and here's what he wrote. Here is a fun quote from the CEO of Ripple. Brad Garlinghouse clarified, quote, we would not be profitable or cash flow positive without selling XRP. I think I've said that. We have now. And then he writes, dumping XRP on you is how Ripple stays alive. How come nobody else in the world of crypto, there's a lot to say about this, how come nobody in the world of crypto has a problem with this if it's an ICO, and an ICO is like, and this is, obviously Ripple's not an ICO, but how come nobody has a problem fundamentally with an ICO selling a cryptocurrency and then using that to fund their work? You know, how much Ethereum does the Ethereum Foundation have? They're not even transparent about it. And here Ripple gets crapped on for being the most transparent company in all of blockchain, period. Well, Galgatron, awesome member of the XRP community, I'm a big fan here, he wrote this. So we're going to, and this is in direct response to Luke Martin, he wrote, so we're going to ignore Bitcoin miners regularly dumping more than 6 times the value of Ripple's peak historical sales. And speaking of Ripple sales, are you aware Ripple has virtually stopped selling for months now? Very good tweet there. And so, of course, I hearted that and I retweeted it a little bit earlier today when I was mapping out my video here. But very salient points, obviously, points, plural. And in addition to that, here's another good point. You do realize that with the vast majority of the XRP that sold, the monetary gains that Ripple sees, you know that basically I don't have the numbers pulled up, but almost the equivalent exactly, the last time I checked anyway, months ago, the equivalent in terms of dollar value of whatever it is that they've earned from that has gone back into the ecosystem, specifically, yes, the XRP ecosystem, and also the world of crypto at large through Ripple's Spring initiative. And that's completely ignored here by Luke Martin here. And so it's just, you gotta wonder, like, do you have the Webernets? Do you have the Googles? Do you have a computer in your freaking pocket all day like everybody else in 2020? Because if you do, there's no excuse for not doing this stuff. I mean, like I can excuse people for not knowing and just saying I believe so and so. Like that's gonna happen to anybody. But the only time I have a problem is if somebody's clearly driving a narrative that's false, and they either should have known better based on what they're doing. This guy has a Coinist podcast. I'm guessing it's a cryptocurrency podcast. If you're going to have firm opinions and that XRP, dumping XRP on you is how Ripple stays alive, I think it would behoove you to go ahead and get just educate yourself a little bit more on what's actually happening here, because otherwise Moon Lambo gonna make you look a fool. That's what's up right now. All right. No venom there. I'm just teasing a little bit. But he could use a few more tidbits. Now, that said, also, I do remember this, thinking the last time, I really wish I could remember what the conversation was with this guy, but I do remember thinking that he was being very cordial, and for most of the conversation, I actually thought that he was legitimately trying to learn, but here we are months later, and he's saying this crap. I'm like, why have you not learned yet? If you were that curious months ago, and then you're saying stuff like this, I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. Into the next piece now. Fundstrat analyst Tom Lee says stocks are starting to look like crypto with $3.18 trillion wiped out in 5 days. Fears of a global pandemic as the coronavirus continues to spread have ignited a historic stock market sell-off. Investors are dumping shares at a rate not seen in over a decade as anxiety over the containment of the virus grows. With the Dow Jones Industrial Average posting its biggest weekly decline since the global financial crisis of 2008, Tom Lee, co-founder of Fundstrat Research and avid crypto supporter, is seeing a similarity between stocks and the highly volatile world of cryptocurrencies. Responding via Twitter to a researcher who notes that the S&P 500 wiped out almost 5 months of gains in a matter of days, Lee said, quote, "Stocks are starting to look like crypto charts. Maybe the whales are playing a different game." And look, it does just go to show you, any asset class can be extremely volatile. And I understand that you have a lot more volatility with crypto since there's the whole frenzy around it. I get all that. But it's not going to stay like that. The asset class absolutely will mature, and prices will be much more stable. And if I had to guess just for fun, in terms of price volatility, it's probably going to look a lot more like gold than stocks in the future. But in the short term here, since almost nobody's participating in the entire planet, I think, and this is not financial advice to be clear, no financial background here, I believe there's an opportunity for asymmetrical gains. That's part of what is exciting about this to me, and what makes it fun to track this in, run this YouTube channel, frankly. I've got skin in the game. But then the piece states, after a string of 1,000-plus point single-day declines, the Dow shed another 357 points into Friday's close. It capped a week of epic losses that marked a 10% drop, wiping an estimated $3.18 trillion in market value from U.S. stocks. During the same period, Bitcoin shed 11% from its market cap. Now, despite market pressures, Lee remains optimistic, stating, quote, "This market is not normal, but it also doesn't mean we keep falling." Lee says that the degree of investor panic over the coronavirus is unwarranted, reports MarketWatch. And here's a quote: "Because of the idiosyncratic nature of a potential pandemic, it is really difficult to know when it is priced in." So we'll see there. Everything's ultimately going to go back tomorrow. I just know I do not know what the timeline's going to look like, but it's going to happen. That's it for this video, though. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything, because of anything that I say or write, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!